The pec minor attaches to ribs 3, 4, and 5. So you're going to palpate at ribs 3, 4, and 5. Then you want to depress the ribs at those areas. So you're going to pin it and then pull the fascia down. Then from this position right over here, what we want to do is you want to... Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to be your own therapist by demonstrating the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for shoulder pain relief. And more specifically, these are going to be the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises to correct a protracted scapula. And before I get on with the actual exercises, I want to do a quick recap of what exactly a protracted scapula is and why exactly you should care. And in order to do that, I'm going to need the help of my good friend, Johnny Bones. So Johnny, get over here and show your big bony blades to the camera. This right over here is your scapula or your shoulder blade. And when it is protracted, that means that your scapula is moving away from the midline or away from the spine. And this is also referred to as abduction of the scapula or frontalization of the scapula. And when you get that, what's going to happen is the muscles that are responsible for retracting the scapula are going to become very, very taut and weak. And this can lead to things like shoulder pain, mid-back pain, and neck pain. And some of the ways that we can go ahead and correct this issue would be, number one, to do some strengthening exercises for the muscles that are responsible for retraction of the scapula. We already did those exercises a couple days ago. If you haven't seen the video, I'm going to include a link right up over here to the top 5 strengthening exercises for a protracted scapula. But once you've done those strengthening exercises, what you can do to complement those exercises would be to do some myofascial stretching exercises for the muscles that are responsible for protracting the scapula. And also, since protraction of the scapula is often coupled with medial rotation of the shoulder, we can also do some stretching exercises for the muscles that are responsible for medially rotating the shoulders. But without further ado, here are the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for shoulder pain relief. These first 2 myofascial stretching exercises for a protracted scapula are going to be specifically for the muscles that are responsible for protracting the scapula. And then the last 3, those are going to be some myofascial stretching exercises for the muscles that are responsible for medially rotating the shoulders. But this first one, the first myofascial stretching exercise for a protracted scapula, is going to be for the serratus anterior. With regard to the serratus anterior, we're going to be in the exact same setup position as the strengthening exercise. The only difference is the hand position when we're targeting the inferior versus the superior fibers. But right now, let's go ahead. We're going to get into our quadruped position, so our 4-point position. And what we want to do for this one, if we want to just do the middle fibers, our palms are going to be directly underneath our shoulders. And all we want to do for this exercise is we are going to retract the scapula. So we're going to go ahead. We have a neutral pelvis, so retroversion of the pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown of head away, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension. And all we want to do is go into maximum retraction of the scapula by sinking deep and bringing our shoulder blades as close together as possible. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the middle fibers of the serratus anterior. Then, if we want to target more of the superior fibers, we're going to just shift the position of our hand. You might get a little bit confused because when we ended up doing the strengthening exercises, in order to strengthen the superior fibers, we had our arms below the level of 90 degrees. Whereas when we are trying to stretch the superior fibers, what we want to do is we are going to place our hands above 90 degrees. And then once we have our hands above 90 degrees, because the superior fibers are also responsible for elevation of the scapula, we want to go into depression as well. Same position though. We are in our quadruped, so 4-point. We want to flex our shoulders above 90 degrees. And then from here, what we want to do is we are going to go into maximum retraction of the scapula. And then we also want to go into depression. So imagine that you are trying to drive your scapula down toward your glutes. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the serratus anterior, specifically the superior fibers. Then, if we want to target the inferior fibers, all we're going to do is shift our hands below 90 degrees. And this is the opposite of what we were doing for the strengthening, but our arms are below. And then, because the inferior fibers are also responsible for depression of the scapula, we want to go into elevation. So we're going to do kind of a shrug. But I'm going to show you right now, quadruped position, so on our 4s. Well, you want to go into retroversion of the pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, chin tucked in, crown of the head away, eyes looking down between our thighs to put the dura mater under tension. Then you want to bring your shoulders below 90 degrees. If this is too strenuous on the wrist, you can even turn your arms out a little bit. And then for this one, we are going to go into maximum retraction of the scapula, and then we want to go into elevation of the scapula by raising our shoulder blades higher. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the serratus anterior. Specifically, that was for the inferior fibers. Next, the second myofascial stretching exercise for a protracted scapula is going to be for the pectoralis minor. For the pectoralis minor, we are going to be in a tall kneeling position, and then we want to go ahead and sit down onto our heels. Once we've sat down on our heels, we want to go ahead and spread our knees apart. From this position, we want to take the contralateral arm, so the arm of the opposite side of the side that we're stretching, and then we want to pin the pec minor. The pec minor attaches to ribs 3, 4, and 5, so you're going to palpate at ribs 3, 4, and 5. Then you want to depress the ribs at those areas, so you're going to pin it and then pull the fascia down. Then from this position right over here, what we want to do is you want to get into some contralateral flexion of the cervical spine, so you're going to look away, and then ipsilateral rotation of the cervical spine by looking toward the sky. With the arm, the ipsilateral arm, we're going to go into maximum extension of the elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation. Then we are going to go into extension of the humerus by bringing the arm behind the level of the coronal plane, and we want to get into retraction of the scapula. From this position, we're going to take a deep inhale, and then we want to exhale. As we exhale, we're going to exhale and we are going to push our palm down toward the ground, and we're going to pull down. The reason we're doing that is because when you exhale, that's going to be coupled with the lowering of the rib cage. So when you depress the rib cage, we're going to get a little bit of extra stretch. So once again, we're pulling down, we're exhaling, and we're pressing down with the palm with contralateral flexion and ipsilateral rotation. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the pectoralis minor. Next, the third myofascial stretching exercise for a protracted scapula is going to be for the anterior deltoid. For the anterior deltoid, we are going to once again be in a tall kneeling position. For this one right over here, what we want to do is we're going to keep the chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension. With regard to the spine, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar spine, flat thoracic spine. Then at the cervical spine, we want to do a contralateral flexion, so we're bending our neck away from the side that we're stretching, and then we're doing a contralateral rotation by rotating our neck away from the side that we're stretching. With the ipsilateral arm, we're going to go into maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of the shoulder. Then we're going to bring our arm behind the level of the coronal plane by bringing our arm behind the midline. Then with the contralateral arm, we're going to reach behind our back, grab a hold at the elbow, and then we want to induce an adduction of the humerus by pulling our arm across. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the anterior deltoid. Next, the fourth myofascial stretching exercise for a protracted scapula is going to be for the pectoralis major. For the pectoralis major, we want to be in a prone position, meaning you're laying down on your stomach. Then, once we're in this position right over here, we're going to be targeting specifically the superficial fibers. So because the superficial fibers attach to the fascia of the rectus abdominis, we want to put the rectus abdominis under tension, and we're going to do that by spreading the legs apart and going into flexion of the knees. So we're going to spread the legs, go into abduction, flex the knees. At the ankles, dorsiflexion and eversion by pointing your toes down toward the floor and then the soles of the feet away from each other. Then, with the ipsilateral arm, so the arm of the side that we're stretching, we're going to bring the arm to the level of the glenohumeral angle. Again, if you don't know where that is, depending on your morphology, between 90 to 135 degrees. For the average person, when your arm is extended, when your palm is at the level of your forehead or even slightly higher, that's going to be your glenohumeral angle. So our arm is at the level of the glenohumeral angle. We want to pin our shoulder down to the ground. Once our shoulder's pinned, maximum extension of the elbow, maximum extension of the wrist. We're going to go into external rotation of the shoulder. Then, with the opposite arm, the contralateral arm, we're going to place the hand underneath the armpit. And with the cervical spine, we want to go into contralateral rotation by looking away from the side that we're stretching, and we're going to pin our ear to the ground. Then, from this position right over here, we want to use our arm, and we are going to push ourselves to roll onto the opposite shoulder while keeping our shoulder pinned to the ground and keeping our ear pinned to the ground. And that was the myofascial stretching exercise for the pectoralis major. Next, the fifth and final myofascial stretching exercise for a protracted scapula is going to be for the teres major. For the teres major, once again, we are going to be in a prone position. And for this one, we want to take our shoulder and we're going to abduct it just above 90 degrees. Then, once our shoulder is abducted above 90 degrees, we're going to go ahead and flex our elbow to 90 degrees. For this one, we're going to need a little bit of a prop. You could either use a mat. I have a yoga block right over here. So your arm is above 90 degrees, your elbow's at 90. You want to place the yoga block underneath your wrist. Then you want to go into maximum extension of the wrist. Once you've got maximum extension of the wrist, the next thing you want to do is contralateral rotation. So you're bringing the ear of the same side down and pinning it toward the ground. And then what you could do if you want to get a little bit of an extra stretch, if you still don't feel it too much, is you could use the opposite arm to push yourself up a little bit and kind of roll onto the shoulder.
At the bottom, where our legs are relaxed, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic, and this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the teres minor.
And there you have it. Those were the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for shoulder pain relief, and more specifically, the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises to correct a protracted scapula. With regard to these exercises, in terms of the sets and repetitions, what you would want to do is 3 sets of 30 seconds for each of those stretches, and you could do them every single day. The reason that we want to do them every single day is because we're trying to elicit a postural change, and whenever we're trying to elicit a postural change, the most important thing is going to be accumulating enough time under tension. So if you only do these exercises once a week or once a month, you're not going to see the true benefit. So you want to make sure that you do them every single day. And then if you guys have any questions with regard to any of these stretches, go ahead and ask your questions down in the comments section, and so I could help you guys out. And if you guys gave them a try, go ahead and write your comments down and let me know, how did they feel? How are you guys feeling? And how's your posture feeling? How's your shoulder pain? But that's pretty much it for today's video. This coming Monday at 2 o'clock p.m., I'm going to be uploading the top 5 Eldoa exercises for shoulder pain relief, specifically for a protracted scapula. The reason we're going to be doing those is because a third problem could be that you might have some nerve dysfunction, and that is why you have a protracted scapula. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to keep making these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.